Check, check. Hey, how's it going? Thank you for doing this interview with me. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. All right, Victor. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Please let's just get started. First question: introduce yourself. Where did you go to college, and what did you study?
Yeah, thanks, Aha. Thanks for having me here, man. So my name is Victor Lopez. Uh, God, what to say? I'm 25. I'm about to be 26 years old. I went to Cal State University, San Marcos, and I majored in economics.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And why did you choose economics?
So yeah, I think it was an interesting decision for me to choose economics. So I went to Cal State San Marcos. Um, Really, I wanted to do computer science when I first started there.
Really?
And I did that for I think it was one semester, and I realized that it wasn't for me. Just it was a weird dynamic for me. I wouldn't say it was weird. It was just not for me. So really fast, I wanted to switch it over to business, and so that's when I was in the business department for I think it was like a year.
Okay.
Took a bunch of classes there, and I really did like business. Like I really thought that's what I was gonna do. But it was actually in a class that we were together with Tahima Morshed.
Morshed, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I really liked econ right there. I actually ended up taking another class with her, like the next semester. So I ended up taking econ like 202 or something like that,
Yeah.
and I really liked it. And I ended up taking it was like econ 301, which I forgot what it was, but it was like a very hard econ class, and I was like, man, this sucks. Like this is really hard.
Really?
But I realized that all my prereqs already for econ were already pretty much essentially met through business. And then I
Okay.
started looking at like, what econ does and what they go on to become and like what kind of careers are available for economics. And I really liked it. And yeah, I mean, right there and then I went to the counselor, changed my major, and graduated with an econ degree.
There you go. Uh,
Yeah.
but before we go on, I want to ask you about computer science because I feel like computer science is kind of one of those majors that are coming up right now, and
Mhm.
a lot of people say like, "Oh, major computer science." Like, can you be specific on why you didn't like it? Was it just like the classroom or the criteria? Like what you had
Yeah.
to learn, was it pretty tough?
So I think for me, it was when I went in there, I went in with like I think it was like I saw my brother-in-law. He majored, or he was majoring in computer science at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So I was like, I want to be like him. I want to be a computer science major. Like I love computers, or so I thought, without really knowing anything about computers. So I go in there, and it was hard, man. It was really tough. I think a lot of people don't realize how tough the actual major is. Even the prereqs, they're really tough.
Really?
Um, and it just wasn't like the dynamic that I was looking for. So I was
Okay.
in about two classes just strictly for computer science, and then the rest of them were just kind of like general ed, like your writing class, your speech class, whatever, public speaking. And it was just so different. Like,
Yeah.
my computer science class, everybody kept to themselves. Everybody was just kind of there doing their thing.
Right.
Didn't really make any friends there. So I was just kind of like, man, this isn't fun. And then I saw how much fun everybody else was having with their business undergrad classes. And I was like, yeah, this might not be for me.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay. That's good. That's good self realization. You're kind of like, this is kind of more individual. I kind of want to,
mhm.
talk to people, be a little more social.
Yeah,
Yeah, just do something different.
yeah, no, definitely. And I think I didn't really talk to Western that much, back my freshman year, but I know that he was computer science, and I know how, he would describe his classes, or it's like, yeah, like you're just there by yourself, like coding.
Mm,
And I was like, man, is that really what I want to do? So yeah, I
yeah.
definitely took some time and just came to the decision that wasn't for me.
Okay. I see. I see.
Yeah.
Now, how was your experience at CSUSM? How would you best describe it for an incoming student?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was a really good question. Actually, I was thinking about it because I really don't think I've taken the time to reflect.
Mhm.
How my experience was. it feels like it was long but fast at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense because it really did just like fly by.
Yeah.
But while you're in it, it's like, man, like it's taking its time. So really to describe it, the best way I would describe it is it's a little big school. I think that's the best way to describe it because I love that it was a big enough school that you got to meet new people essentially like in every class. You got to make new
Yeah.
friends if you wanted to, but it was small enough that for me, if I was taking a class like an SBSB and then I had to go all the way to marketing, which is across campus, there's a really good chance that I would see at least one or two persons or people that I would know and say hi
Mhm.
to them, catch up with them. There's a really good chance, and I love that. Like, I love talking to people. I love, saying hi to people, seeing what they're up to. And I knew there was a really good chance of seeing somebody on campus. There was never one day that I would go on campus and not see anybody that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I love that part. Like I love that. I love how intimate the classes were. So for me, like I said, I was in econ. Econ was a really new major there, so our classes weren't that big. I think the biggest class I ever took was like maybe 30 people,
Mhm.
and out of those 30 people, like 25 would show up. So you really got to know your professors. I became really really good friends with my professors. Like I still talk to a couple of them.
That's cool.
So I really love that. Yeah, man, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and especially for us, being in sports together, like that's
Yeah.
just a whole other community that you get to know. You commingle with other sports, right? So whether it's track, whether it's the basketball team, the soccer team, you
Yeah.
got to know more people there. So I really enjoyed my experience there. Honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I met some of my best friends there. I met my wife there. Yeah, man, I just made some connections that are just gonna be like for a lifetime. So I enjoyed it. I think I would give it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. There you go. And I liked how you said that you're the first person to have said where you like in between classes, like you'd be able to see, one or two people that you know, and you have like a full on conversation with them. So I really like how you pointed that out because I would agree with the same thing. Like at San Marcos, like yeah, wherever you go, you'll eventually see someone that you know, and you can just talk to them very
Yeah.
casually, and then go about your day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good part of that.
Yeah, and the athletics were really like connected to with all the sports, so that was always a good
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Um, so, has your major helped you with your position today?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say it helped a little bit, but not to the degree that I feel like a lot of people would think it would. So
Okay.
there's a couple people
Well,
in
actually,
my
sorry. Could you say what your position is?
so I work as a financial representative with Northwestern Mutual. Essentially, what the career is
Mhm.
we really help people come up with financial plans to achieve whatever goal they might have in mind, right? Whether it's retirement, whether it's legacy planning, whether it's planning for children's education, business planning, tax planning, whatever that might be. Um, that's really what we focus on.
Okay.
And like I was mentioning, I think my degree helped me out in the sense of I think it got me like at least one foot in the door where it's like I kind of knew what I was talking about.
Mhm.
But it really is like any other job, I would say, where you learn 90% of it like just by being on the job.
Yeah.
Because just because I graduated with an econ degree, it's completely different than what I'm doing now, right? So I got to take
Mhm.
different tests to get certified. I got to do a lot of different stuff and learn on the job to actually apply it. So it's yeah, I'd say like maybe it helped me understand some key concepts,
Yeah.
but I think that's about it, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you describe some of the toughest parts of being a financial representative?
Yeah, so that's a good one. Man, it's
Even
it's
if you
funny
want to
because
give like a story or like just an example.
yeah, I think I'll give a little story, but before it's really hard. So to be a financial representative, like it's tough, man. It's really tough mentally because they don't tell you this going into it, and you learn eventually. It's only like a 19 to 20% retention rate, right? So
Wow.
meaning only 20% of the people are going to make it past 1 year.
Yeah.
And I think they told me that when I was going through like the training. They put you through like a 2 week training where they just really kind of like walk you through what the business is going to be like, kind of get you ready pick up some of the language or whatever that might be. And they told me that, and I was just like, oh shit, man, like that's that's crazy, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sitting. My class
Great.
was really really small. So for me, the people that were like, they call them like incoming classes. So every month, so they don't hire that many people for our position. I think in 2021, we're only hiring like 10 people for our office.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, so it's really intensive process to get in. So my class was only 4 people. There was only 4 people in my class, and that was, to the different offices that we have in Orange County. We have 4 offices, 3 or 4 offices in Orange County,
Okay.
and there was only 4 people. So I'm looking around and I'm all like, so that means that like one of us, if that, are gonna make it past a year. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm looking like, oh, it's gonna be me, right? But I'm sure that's what everybody else is thinking. And it's funny because those numbers held true, right? So I'm the only one left. After 4 months, the third person left, and then it was just me. Right. The first person to leave, I think they left within like a month and a half. And then it was the other person left right away, and then the last one made it 4 months. So
Wow.
it is a tough job just mentally. I think the biggest part is it's fully commission based, right? So
Okay.
a lot of people can't wrap their hand around that, where it's if you're not working, if you're not actually, doing what the job says you should be doing, like you're not gonna get paid. Like you're just not.
Yeah.
And for the first like 3 months of it, you're really not gonna see much of a reward because you're just gonna be working, you're gonna be working, you're gonna be working, you're gonna get essentially, beat up because so many people are gonna be saying no to you. You're gonna be putting yourself out there, you're gonna be calling people, you're gonna be asking to meet with people, and about 80% of those people are gonna say no. Like,
Yeah.
and you gotta have a really, really tough mindset to be able to move on from that and say, okay, cool, like they said no, so let's move on to the next person, and just
Yeah.
kind of trust the process, right? So I was fortunate enough to be able to make it past those 3 months and then really see kind of like the fruit of my labor of like, okay, this actually does work. Like I'm making a career out of this. And it doesn't ever, I don't think it ever gets easier. I think you just get used to it. So
Okay.
right now I'm going into year 2, and it's still tough. Like, I mean, there's a running joke in the career where somebody asks like, if you're not thinking about quitting at least once a month, that something's wrong with you, right? Because it's it's that tough.
Yeah.
uh, and they
Dang.
and that kind of usually goes until you're year 5. So once you're year 5, the retention rate goes up to like 95%, because
Really?
after year 5 it's just so good, nobody leaves.
Why
But
is
that's
that?
so the way that the business is built is super high overview level. Is, essentially the longer you stay,
Uh-huh.
for every client that you sign up, right, there's going to be renewals, right? So every year, so essentially year 1 you start off with 0 salary because you don't have anybody under your name. Year 2, you start getting clients and you start getting residuals off of them, right? So whenever they renew whatever they were doing with you, you start getting some of that, right? And then that's only going to keep growing and growing and growing as you get older. So essentially year 5, you're supposed to have a decent amount renewals where that's going to be your base salary. Whether it's going to be, I know people in the business that, they're year 5, 6, their renewals just, they could literally do 0 work the whole year, and they could be earning about $6,000 to $7,000 a month. That's why it gets so good, depending on how hard you want to work at it and where do you want to stop, right? So the renewals are a big part of it, right? So I'm now actually January. So I started weird. So I started in April.
Okay.
So my the first like 6 or 7 months I didn't get a renewals because I was like in a weird spot. So just January 1st, this is like my first year now with renewals, which is pretty awesome. Like, oh shit, like that's awesome. Like I get
Yeah.
paid no matter what now, like even if I don't do anything, which is great. I love it. So I still got a long way to go. I mean,
Okay.
you know, so
So could you tell me a story of, or like an example of what it's like being a financial rep?
yeah.
Like a
So
call.
I guess a story or an example would be kind of just like breaking down what I do in a day. Wake up early. Usually what my day consists of before COVID was, I would wake up early, go into the office. I try to have my like kind of, I call it like my back end stuff. So making sure that like if I need to call home office to clear up a case, I do that. If I need to do some paperwork, I do that then. So usually from like 8 to 9 or 7 to 9, that's what I'll do. Then at 9, that's when I usually start calling clients or potential clients, right? To try to set meetings with them.
Yeah.
You ideally want to be setting 3 meetings a day with new people you've never talked to before, just because that way you keep the business alive, and you have enough people to talk to, right? Because you don't want to be going into a day and having 0 meetings. Then it's like, oh fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I do that from 9 to 10. That's like my set hour. Then from 10 to 12, it's whether you have 1 meeting or 2 meetings. That's when you try to do those. Usually take an hour break, go to lunch, do whatever I need to do, and then you have the rest of your meetings from 1 to like 4 or 5, whenever you want to end your day. Usually,
Okay.
the way what I would do is my day starts at 6 a.m. My day ends at 6 p.m. There has
Okay.
to be something special or somebody that doesn't need can meet within those hours. Like, I mean, obviously, if somebody wants to meet at 7, like I'll do it, but it's rare.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of have your own hours set in this position, right?
Yeah, essentially, it's like the longer you are with the business, the more freedom you're able to give yourself.
Okay.
I'm not at the position, I guess, right now yet in my career to be able to like give myself any freedom because I haven't really been here for that long.
Okay.
But definitely, there's some people that they just don't work on Fridays. They've earned the right to say, hey, I'm not going to work on Friday. Like I put in so much work, in this career that I don't want to work on Fridays, and they have that right.
Nice. And how long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing this for a little bit over a year and a half. So in April of 2021 will be my 2 year, I guess, anniversary
Nice.
in the company.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, could you tell me some of the best parts of being a financial representative?
Yeah, no, there's definitely, I know I've kind of talked a lot about the hard stuff, so hopefully I'm not scaring anybody off.
Yeah.
But no, it definitely does come with its rewards, man. I think one of the best rewards that I like is just the genuine like friendships and like connections that I've made in the business. So it's when we have these conversations, like when I call a client, right? I'm usually getting referred to them by already an existing client, by friends, by family. And when I talk to them, it's we really don't know anything about each other, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, if I get referred to you, I would know that your name is Chris Seha. I would know that you're married. I would know kind of what you do for a living, and that's it.
Okay.
That's all I go off of, right? So I'll give you a call. I'll introduce myself. We'll talk for like a minute or two, and then you'll agree to meet with me or you won't. Let's say that you do meet with me. I go into that meeting literally knowing nothing about you. Like,
Mhm.
it's my job to figure out if I can help you or not, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm going to be upfront with you. If I can't help you, then why would I waste your time? Why would I waste my time?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is like something really cool happens in those meetings where I'm asking questions that that person or that couple they've never been asked before, right?
Hmm.
And through those meetings, like I've seen people cry. I've seen people, be so thankful that like, man, I've never thought about that. Like, thank you for helping me out with that, or thank you for at least bringing that into my uh into like my thoughts, I guess, or making me think about it.
Yeah.
Um, and I've had like like actual genuine friends now where we call each other and we talk because the connection that you have, right? You are talking to them and you're helping them with some of the biggest fears that they have in life, right? They're scared that they're not going to be able to retire in time, right? If you help
Hmm.
somebody out with that, there's going to be some sort of connection there, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
Some of these people like send me Christmas cards, right? Stuff like that. There's one where if there was a client, they were, I think they just found out that they were pregnant, and you know I was one of the first ones that they told, because they're like, okay, well, we need to start planning about this, we just haven't told our family. I'm like, oh dude, like that's awesome. Like, like me thinking that I'm not even part of the family, which I'm not, but like they feel like they can trust me with that, and I love that part. Like, I love the genuine connections that you make.
Yeah.
I'd say that's definitely one of the biggest parts, or
Yeah.
perks of the career.
That truly is special, man. You are definitely like included in something really like amazing like that in people's lives.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, Victor, what are some tips that you can give to students to ensure financial security?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I think when I was thinking about this question, one of the
Maybe
biggest ones, I guess.
sorry, I was gonna say like what could also help you is like what are some things you wish like you knew in college?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Yeah, I think some of the tips that I guess I would give students now, and something that I wish I would have known, and I don't think this is like a huge surprise, is really like looking into your student loans.
Uh-huh.
Um, Maybe, people already do this, maybe they don't. So for me, I was a first generation college student.
Okay.
I didn't really know anything about like student loans or kind of what to look out for. I think going into college, I was very naive because really at that point, like nobody in my family had seen the repercussions of student loans, right? Like my brother had just graduated college, so he hadn't even started paying them back yet. My sister was still in college, and then I had just started college, right? So really, when you go and apply for financial aid and all this stuff, you're just like, oh, sweet, free money, like I'll take it, right? Without really looking at it. So I was really fortunate that I didn't really get myself into that much student loan debt.
Okay.
Um, but I have seen people who, they just take out whatever loans are offered without really looking at the interest rate, whether it's fixed, whether it's variable, what that's going to look like. Not really taking the time um, every semester or quarter or whatever, whenever it is dispersed, to say like, okay, well, they offered me 10,000. Do I really need the 10,000, or can I just take a portion of it?
Mhm.
Right. So really like evaluating what your costs are going to be for that semester or that period of time, and making the decision of, okay, well, they offered me 10,000. I don't need to take all 10,000 of that money if it's going to be left over, right? Or if you do overshoot it and you say to take out the 10,000 and there's $4,000 left when it's all said and done, and it's time for another disbursement, take that into consideration and say, okay, well, now I'm only going to take 6,000 of the next one, right? Because that's like I think a very easy way to, if anything, like cut off like, a couple thousand off of what your whole bill is going to be at the end. Because once they do start charging you, and once you do start making those payments and the interest rate starts kicking in at the end, or whether it's already been compounding,
Yeah.
it's going to hurt. And then another thing too that I would say is, and again, this is me just being completely uninformed. I had no idea you could do this until, actually my wife told me. So what she did was she would always pay the interest while she was in college. She would always pay off the interest in her loans. So what she was doing is, whenever the interest would pile up or whatever, whenever she'd get the bill, and like, okay, cool, like you have $10,000 and there was $100 of interest, she would pay off those $100. So it wasn't a lot. She was sending in like, 50, $100 a month, all 4 years of college. And so when she graduated, the student loans were just, the base amount. There was no interest in them because she had been making the payment. That's huge. Some
Yeah.
people that could grow, like 10, $20,000 depending on
Oh yeah.
how much they took out. So I think that's another big one that people could do.
Wow. I had no idea that you could do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't either. So
I was like,
yeah.
hopefully someone else will know now.
Yeah.
So and also in terms of financial security, do you think every student in college should like have a job?
That's a hard one. So it's I think you really have to weigh that one, honestly. Like really think about like what you're giving up. It's like the cost benefit analysis, right? So for example, the reason why I say that is, let's say that you're gonna major in, I don't know, job A, and job A is gonna guarantee you a minimum. You're gonna major in career A, and career A is gonna give you a job in that field with a minimum starting base salary of, let's say, 120,000. But you have to, in order to lock up that job, you have to keep a certain minimum grade standard, right? To be able to put yourself in a position to get that job. Would I recommend that person to get a job while they're trying to maintain those grades to get by instead of taking out loans? Like, I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, because you could take the job and then your grades slip, and then you put yourself in a position where you're not able to get that job.
Mhm.
Or you could not get a job, focus on school, get the high paying job, and hopefully you put yourself in a position where the loans aren't big enough that you could pay them off with the high paying job, right? So
Now, what if
I really don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. I think it just depends where you are, what position you're in life, right? Whether you can afford to take out the student loans, whether you can't. I know there's a lot of students who, they're just, there's no way that they can make it by without getting a job, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay that there's there's really no right or wrong answer. I think it's just where you are, what position you're in, and knowing that. Um, I think hindsight is 2020 because you could graduate and be like, oh man, I could have worked the whole time and been in such a better position, but like you just don't know.
I see.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
tough. It's all pretty much on your opinion.
yeah.
Uh,
Because like I said, I worked throughout college.
yeah,
Though I think I would have been in a better position if I didn't work. Probably not. I think I would have been in the same exact position or probably worse because I personally would have taken out more student loans because I didn't know any better.
yeah,
Um, but there's some people that didn't work and they're in a better position than I am. So
mm,
I don't know.
yeah. All right. So for the next question, what is your thought or opinion on students using unemployment during COVID?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I say if the government is giving you free money, then like take it, right? No, I think it's a little bit more. I would say complex, but a little bit more than that. So yeah, I think if they're offering it, then take it. Like the only way that you're gonna get unemployment is if you've been paying into unemployment, right? So you must have had a job, you must have done something. So if you're putting a portion of your paycheck to get that benefit, if you don't have that job, then why wouldn't you take advantage of it, right? This kind of plays into what you were saying, like what could students do to be in a better financial position while they're in college. I mean, at this time, throughout 2020, I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but a lot of loans, they froze the interest rate. So nobody was paying on interest on certain type of loans. Let's say that you were in that position where you were getting unemployment and there was absolutely zero interest accruing in your loan. You could have used that unemployment to really take a huge dent or make a huge dent into your student loan. And why wouldn't you do that? So I think,
Yeah,
if it's there and if it's offered to you, then take it.
yeah. All right. The reason why I was asking that question because I think I heard a lot. I mean, even in some cases in the beginning of COVID, of students taking unemployment and they're kind of like leaving their jobs and because their unemployment's higher.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah, I think,
uh,
that kind of goes, I guess, into more of a moral based question, right? Like, is it
yeah,
right to
yeah,
to quit or leave your job because of COVID, even though you don't really have to? I don't, yeah, I don't know about that. But as far as like taking the money, if you were really laid off or if your job really ended because of COVID and you can't work because of it, um, take the money, man. Yeah, and
yeah,
do something with it. Like
yeah,
live, pay rent, and if there's anything left over, like be smart with it and hopefully be in a better side than, the position that you were before it.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's really well said. Like pay to live and then yeah, rest. Make it count, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. No, because I think while 2020 was like a horrible, tough year for I'd say everybody, or mostly everybody. Um, there are some people that, like students, I guess, that I know that were able to do that, right? They had a job and they were laid off or whatever it might be. They're collecting unemployment. So obviously you got to pay rent, you got to pay the bills, you got to eat. But most of them had something left over. And what they're doing is they're paying off those student loans.
Yeah,
They're really making a dent because the interest rate is frozen. I mean, everything that you're going is going straight to the principal. So yeah.
well said, well said. Now to my last question. This is I think one of the most important questions of my idea. Was Cal State San Marcos worth it?
Yeah, no, 100% I think it was. I genuinely think, and I feel like again, you could say this about anything, right? I could have gone to like Fullerton or a different school and been like, yeah, that was my school. Like I wouldn't change anything about it because hindsight's 2020. But no, I love my experience at Cal State San Marcos. I wouldn't have changed it for anything. Like looking back, I think of, the the apartments that I lived in, with the people that I lived in, the friendships that I made, the connections that I've made, the memories, right? I loved it there. Like, honestly, there wasn't a day where I went to Cal State where I was like, man, I want to transfer out of the school. Like, I want to go somewhere else. I really, you're gonna hear this, like, I think in every school that you go to, where some people aren't happy and they want to transfer out or whatever it might be. I never felt that way. I really never did, and I couldn't understand the people that felt that way. It's like, why? Like,
Yeah.
that saying, the grass is always greener on the other side, but like, is it really? I don't know.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I really enjoyed my experience there. I think for the price, for the location, the type of education that you're getting, and the connections that you could make out of there, right? Like, any school is what you make out of it, and I think Cal State was like perfect for everything that had to offer. It was
Yeah.
perfect for me, I guess. That's yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. Yeah. I think San Marcos is a great school. Um, Victor, thank you so much for doing this interview with me, man. I think you said a lot of great things. Hopefully this could help, graduating students get a grasp of what, a financial representative is like, and also what Cal State San Marcos is like. So I really appreciate you doing this interview with me.
Thanks, man. No, thanks for taking the time and inviting me over. Big fan, man. Big fan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Victor.
All right, man.